Hello everyone and happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday, January 15, 2024. I'm Riley King and welcome to Riley's Kingdom of News right here on WRMK News Radio. We have a jam-packed broadcast to get to on this Wednesday, so let's get started right now. First up, Manchester Mayor testifies in favor of mandatory minimum. Let's take a listen to that report from WMUR News 9.
When a person is peddling this poison, they must be prosecuted.
Manchester Mayor Jay Ruay backing two bills at the State House, which would increase jail time for certain fentanyl-related offenses.
More needs to be done, and I think these mandatory minimums send a message that we are serious about addressing those individuals who are selling this poison in the city of Manchester.
One bill sets a mandatory minimum sentence of 3.5 years for possession of 5 or more grams of fentanyl. The other is a 10-year minimum sentence for dealing fentanyl that results in an overdose death.
We're seeing reductions in overdoses, but we have to penalize those individuals who are profiting off of this and get them off our streets and into prison where they belong.
Ruay says something needs to be done about the drug supply. The data is promising. Reported overdoses are down in the Queen City and across the Granite State. There were about 200 fewer overdoses in Manchester last year compared to 2023. And the mayor says Manchester had the fewest suspected overdoses in nearly 5 years last month. For Ruay, this bill sends more than just a strong message.
When you're putting these mandatory minimums in place, at the very least, you are ensuring that these individuals are not on our streets.
And Ruay also says that bail reform is an equally important part of this issue that he is looking forward to working with fellow lawmakers on. Now, there are some groups that are opposing the mandatory minimums, like the ACLU, who says that this will put too many drug users in jail. We're live in Manchester. Maria Wilson, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that report. We want to hear from you. We want to know what your thoughts and opinions on this is. Do you think, a mandatory minimum sentence for fentanyl dealers is good or not? Let us know, weigh in, and send in your thoughts and opinions at rknetwork1995@gmail.com or in the comments section below. Shaheen Grill's secretary nominee Hegseth. Let's take a listen to that report from WMUR News 9.
What I'm confused about, Mr. Hegseth, is which is it? Senator Jeanne Shaheen calling bluff on Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth during his confirmation hearing on Monday, referencing his past comments about women serving in combat.
In the Minnesota National Guard.
Well, I appreciate your 11th hour conversion. Shaheen and other Democrats argue that Hegseth is unqualified and lacking the right character to lead, pointing to allegations of sexual assault, excessive drinking, and financial mismanagement. But Hegseth pushed back.
You have admitted that you had sex while you were married to wife 2 after you just had fathered a child by wife 3. You've admitted that. Now, if it had been a sexual assault, that would be disqualifying to be Secretary of Defense, wouldn't it? It was a false claim then and a false claim now.
Republicans standing by the president-elect's nominee.
20 years in service, multiple deployments, has heard the bullets crack over the top of his head.
Hegseth is the first of many high-profile nomination hearings this week. And while political analysts say some, like Senator Marco Rubio for Secretary of State and Governor Doug Burgum for Interior Secretary will be smooth sailing, others will likely stir up a fight.
I think where things get a little trickier is when you get to the more unorthodox nominees, folks like Robert Kennedy Jr. for Health and Human Services, Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence, of Kash Patel at the FBI, where you have these folks who sort of glommed onto Trump world, but don't have anything resembling traditional credentials in those areas.
Now, this isn't the last time that we'll see Senator Shaheen. She's now the ranking member of the U.S. Foreign Relations Committee, so we'll see her during the Marco Rubio hearing as well. We're live in the studio tonight. Ariel Metropolis, WMUR News 9.
Okay, we want to hear from you. We want to know what your thoughts on Hegseth is over the comments on women and things. Weigh in right now. Email us at rknetwork1995@gmail.com or in the comment section below. South Korean president detained by anti-corruption investigators say. Let's take a listen to that report from NBC News.
Now to breaking news overnight from South Korea. Its impeached president detained by anti-corruption investigators after a long standoff at his home. And this comes, of course, more than a month after he briefly imposed martial law there. NBC's Janice Mackey-Fair in the region joining us now. Janice, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. This is a first in South Korea's history, a sitting president being arrested. Yoon Suk-yeol had been holed up at his residence in Seoul since being impeached last month after that short-lived declaration of martial law. Police surrounded Yoon's compound before dawn. Some cut through barbed wire. They used ladders to climb over buses that had been parked as barriers by a security detail. Yoon said in a video that he agreed to go to avoid a violent clash. That was a worry since a standoff a couple of weeks ago when investigators first tried to detain him. He struck a deal today. He wasn't handcuffed. He left in a presidential motorcade, not a police car. Yoon's being investigated for insurrection, but he says that investigation is illegal. And he still has support among South Korean conservatives. They've been showing up on his street outside of his house every day, a lot of them waving American flags, wearing red ball hats, and carrying signs that say, "Stop the steal." Sound familiar? At the same time, constitutional court proceedings are underway where judges will decide whether Yoon should be formally removed as leader. Right now, he's only suspended. This crisis has thrown South Korean politics into disarray. This is a country that's a key U.S. ally. Some 28,000 American troops are based there. 48 hours. That's how long police can hold Yoon in custody. He's said to be in a solitary cell and facing a lot of questions. Savannah?
All right, Janice, thank you very much.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Very interesting. As TikTok ban looms, users turn to other China-based platforms. Let's take a listen to that report from NBC News.
You can't do this!
Time is running out for TikTok. The Supreme Court set to rule as soon as today whether or not to uphold a U.S. ban on the popular app. In a hearing last week, the justice is expressing skepticism over arguments by lawyers for TikTok that a ban on the app would violate users' First Amendment rights. The bipartisan law set to go into effect this Sunday stipulates TikTok must be sold away from its Chinese ownership because of national security concerns. Officials warn China could potentially steal users' data or manipulate content shown to Americans.
China is engaged in an ongoing and unrelenting effort to hack the United States. And now they've got a surveillance tool in everybody's pocket. The software doesn't just have funny videos. It also collects everywhere you go, everybody you talk to, everybody you work with.
TikTok denies they share data with the Chinese government, but now new names are surfacing as potential buyers for the platform.
Let's go, Elon.
Including Elon Musk, who owns X and is a close advisor to President-elect Trump, who now supports saving the app. Both Bloomberg and the Wall Street Journal, citing people familiar with discussions, say Chinese officials are weighing an option to allow Musk to take control.
I think the worst thing that could happen to TikTok besides getting shut down is Elon buying it.
Musk, who famously bought Twitter after joking about it, has said nothing, and TikTok calls the suggestion pure fiction. Former Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin previously launched an effort to buy it, and Shark Tank star Kevin O'Leary says he and other investors are also making a play.
We're the only syndicate that put a real bid in front of the company, in front of the bankers, in front of the shareholders, and in front of the Chinese government.
But perhaps the biggest hurdle, TikTok owner ByteDance says the platform isn't actually for sale. In the face of the looming ban, some users have flocked elsewhere.
Hello, TikTok refugees from the U.S. Welcome to Red Note.
I'm new here, and I came from TikTok.
Propelling two other Chinese-based platforms to the top spots in the app stores, with Red Note, an app similar to Instagram, now the top download, and Lemonade, also owned by ByteDance and similar to TikTok, just behind it. Those apps could also eventually face a ban due to their Chinese ownership and similar security concerns. Now, the ball is with the Supreme Court as we wait their decision on TikTok's appeal. Now, President Trump has been a vocal supporter of the app after, though, initially being one of the first to suggest banning it. On the other side of the aisle, 4 Democratic lawmakers introduced legislation just yesterday with the hope of extending this deadline while urging a solution other than a ban. Of course, the initial law had broad bipartisan support due to those national security concerns we outlined.
Yeah, broad support indeed. Thank you, Savannah.
Wow, very interesting there. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Michelle Obama will not attend Donald Trump's second inauguration.
President-elect Trump's inauguration is now just 5 days away, and details of Monday's event are coming into focus a bit. Among those attending, President Biden and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden, former Presidents Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton, as well as former First Lady Laura Bush and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Michelle Obama will not be attending the inauguration. That's according to a statement from the former First Lady's office. Other guests include tech giants Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos. The trio will have a prominent spot at the ceremony, seated together on the platform. Of course, we'll have full coverage of all of the Inauguration Day events Monday morning here on NBC, NBC News Now, and Peacock.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Okay, and there you go. And that does it for this edition of Riley's Kingdom of News, right here on WRMK News Radio. Thank you for tuning in and listening. Goodbye.